Good morning, everyone. This is Servium calling. My name is Steve Dawes, and I'm the Services Director here at Servium. Welcome to episode 5 of season 4 of our INOOT Webinar series. This webinar's focus on the technical trends to look for in the marketplace, the new disruptive, innovative technology from leading vendors that we believe address the business challenges that you face. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us. For those of you who are here today, we will email your coffee vouchers out after the event, so keep your eye out for those. And we're using Zoom to deliver the webinar today, and there will be a recording. The opportunity to ask questions and answers of our subject matter experts as well today. And there'll be a couple of polls towards the end of the webinar. We'll record this, it'll be on our YouTube channel. And right at the end, we'll be doing the prize draw, which includes the charity donation as well for the lucky winner. So today's all about Qumulo, and meet Qumulo, a different kind of file storage. So I'd like to introduce Dean Flint, our solutions architect. Good morning, Dean.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, everyone.
And good morning, John Harding from Qumulo as well.
Good morning.
So today, 11th of December, I always like to look back on history. So what happened? 1936, Edward VIII announced on the radio broadcast that he was abdicating the British throne to marry Wallis Simpson. So that was the day in history. But today, the 11th of December, it's all about INOOT. And for us here at Servium, it's all about creating you, our customers, great experiences, and bringing these new technologies to you so you can make educated decisions. And part of this is putting you, our customers, your challenges at the center of everything we do. How do we do that? We work with you throughout the life cycle of a particular requirement, no matter how large, no matter how small. But the key thing for me in that sort of life cycle is we review everything we do. Have we delivered on time, within expectations, to budget, and so on? How do you deliver that? With our vendor partners such as Qumulo, and with our services ecosystem. We believe we've got a really unique approach to the way we deliver services, is that we are totally transparent on who we use, how we use them, when it gives you access to the breadth and depth and scale of the resource that is available to you as our customers. So when we look at our value proposition and where does today fit, it's massively around the data. And that's what it's about with Qumulo. So I'm going to hand over to Dean, who's going to set the scene for today, before then bringing on John, our subject matter expert. As I said, there'll be an opportunity at the end to put questions to our experts, because I always like to put them on the spot. So Dean, over to you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Good morning, everyone, again. As Steve's mentioned, I'm here to set the scene and actually to give you an idea as to why Servium have taken the step to work with Qumulo, and why in turn we wanted to put this technology in front of you. So first up, pedigree. Now this isn't always a luxury when you're onboarding a new vendor, but a lot of people I speak to maybe haven't heard of Qumulo, or maybe have heard of them, but don't totally understand them within the context of this part of infrastructure. But just to put you at ease, you may not know this, but the CEO of Qumulo was the president of the Isilon storage division. So there's certainly pedigree there. The chief scientist at Qumulo was the technical lead on the OneFS clustered file system, again at Isilon, and also spent some time at AWS. The Qumulo SVP and general manager of cloud was general manager of AWS Marketplace. So thinking outside of sort of Isilon and the storage arena, AWS Marketplace, obviously an ecosystem and a growing one of partnerships and alliances in the public cloud space, which is important and which we'll get onto in a minute. Second thing here, Qumulo having a solution that addresses legitimate struggles, concerns, and annoyances with the status quo to present something genuinely disruptive. if you look into the history of Qumulo a little bit, you'll actually see that they spent a good amount of time and money, I'd imagine, in research and development, looking at their slice of infrastructure, market trends, engaging potential customers, and asking questions around those annoyances and things that didn't quite work right with legacy architecture. I don't say this lightly, but it's maybe only a couple of times a decade that I've seen genuinely disruptive vendors that are bringing something compelling and new to the table. I know it's anecdotal, it's subjective, it's my experience, but I got that same tingling feeling I got with Nutanix, Veeam, Meraki, and although I don't always bet right, that feeling is something that it takes a lot to get me there and to get me enthused about something. Third thing here, a compelling story around hybrid cloud to support you wherever you are in your cloud adoption journey. I was quite early to AWS. I was with a consulting partner and channel reseller first part of the last, 2014 approximately. I think they really started to have a partner proposition. But there's definitely a pronounced difference between vendors that are born in the cloud and have a intrinsic heart, a cloud native heart, versus those that are legacy solutions that are shoehorning in a hybrid offering. And what I really like about Qumulo is that they really have that software defined solution that caters for that market they address. So they looked at scale up, scale out file storage and really brought something compelling to the market, whilst bringing public cloud and all of the economies of scale and opportunities that exist with that ecosystem to the table. Sorry, Steve, if I could just get back to the previous slide for a second. So the final thing here, partnerships with established vendors, unicorns, and for specific use cases. So the established vendors, there are alliances with the likes of HPE, with Fujitsu. There are alliances with unicorns, so those companies with billion-dollar valuations pre-IPO. That I think we all wish we had investment in, but that there are partnerships with Rubrik, Veeam, Commvault, those sorts of integrations, and then industry-specific use cases. So plenty of reasons and examples. If you do wish to talk to us about some of those, please do get in touch after today. Next slide, please, Steve. Okay, so just a few stats up here to set the scene. So 90% of all data in existence was generated in the last 2 years. That, for me, blows my mind. It's from 2017. I sort of don't want to think about how much data we're generating at the moment, but it should get you starting to think about that explosion of data. 95% of businesses cite the need to manage unstructured data as a problem for their business. So it's from a Forbes study. Worldwide spending on big data analytics solutions will be worth over $274.3 billion in 2022, and that's from IDC. So again, just setting the scene, but some of the issues and hang-ups of scale up, scale out file storage solutions, on-premise solutions, I mean, they should be obvious, but oversizing or more often undersizing on-premise solutions equals overspend. Which none of us like. Well, Servium should like, but absolutely we want to position the right solution for you. Suffering from poor storage performance and crucially, and I can't stress this enough, losing competitive advantage. So the opportunities inherent in that data, it's something you should be thinking about and which the competition are no doubt thinking about. Okay, so without further ado, I'd love to hand over to John, who's going to talk about Qumulo, and I'll be back later. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Dean. Thanks for the introduction. So, today's data is created by a wide variety of applications, sensors, video systems, and other platforms. So whether it's text or video, audio, mobile activity, surveillance data, any images from multiple use cases, etc. Unstructured data is being used as the engine of innovation in many of the most successful organizations and of course in many of our customers. I'm just going to see if that's okay. Let's move on. Yes. So, but this data explosion has led to many storage management challenges and common storage problems. So, how do we consolidate massive data volumes? How do we extend our workloads to the public cloud where appropriate to try and leverage services and innovation from public cloud? How do we transform our operations to lower our ongoing operational expenditure? Requirements are increasing, but budgets aren't. So particularly at the moment. So the statement here is that your data is radically different to what it was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. So the question is, why is your data platform not changed? And perhaps that's a consideration that you may be thinking of. If we take a look at the timeline of file system innovation, which you can see in this slide here, Qumulo, weren't the first to build a file system. There were many others before, and you can see some of them represented on this slide here. You'll see that the file systems, many of the most successful file systems today were built and designed, engineered 20 to 30 years ago, long before the kind of workloads and data sets that you and other organizations are having to deal with today. If we go back to the 90s, architectures were built with what we call a scale-up approach. You scaled storage by adding capacity to fixed controllers, and until basically you couldn't add any more. And then you had options. You either buy new controllers and start building a new silo of storage, or you rip out that investment in controllers that you've already made and buy bigger ones. But either way, scale-up architecture had limited scalability and was difficult to share data across users, across different storage arrays. And then we had, the noughties, the start of the century, and the leading file system architectures adopted what we call a scale-out approach. It overcame the challenges of capacity scaling within a single volume, a single namespace, but had other limitations around small files, around large file counts, and perhaps most importantly, getting visibility into the data to know what was going on with the file system, at any point in time. And additionally, many of these file systems were built, and designed, prior to the increased public adoption of public cloud that we see today. So not necessarily built or born to be used in the cloud. So a modern solution was needed. You can see Qumulo first was introduced in 2012, and we brought our first products to market in 2015. The file system, what was needed was a file system that could unify multiple or all unstructured data types, scale to billions of files, span multiple data centers, and of course the cloud, and enable that real-time analytics for real-time control of your file system and your data. So what is Qumulo? There's a description on the slide here that you can read. It's a file data platform. You scale by adding nodes, and where all nodes are equal. So each node contains hard drives, SSD, NVMe drives, memory, network connectivity, compute, etc. So when you add a node, you're not just adding capacity, you're also scaling node and cluster performance. Qumulo can be deployed on different hardware platforms, on our own hardware platform, or also on HPE and Fujitsu, and also natively in the public cloud. It can scale to billions of files. So it addresses that problem around scale, and it doesn't care whether the files are really, really small, a few kilobytes, or really, really big. And it's multi-protocol. So you can present and access data via SMB, NFS, etc. I think Dean said it. And you recall from the timeline that Qumulo in the history of file systems is a relatively recent introduction, 2012 and 2015 with our first product. But as Dean said, our founders had a history in building file systems. The three original founders of Qumulo were central to the development of the Isilon and probably the original scale-out platform. They have over 50 Isilon patents attached to their name. And when they went to build a new file system in Qumulo, they spoke to around 1,000 Isilon customers and said, well, look, if we were doing this again, What would you want us to do differently? So they said, well, we'd like it to run, and these form the design principles which you can see on this slide here. So we'd want it to be able to run anywhere. True hybrid file data platform, as easy and as simple to deploy on premises as and in the cloud. So they want it to run natively on cloud hardware, so they could spin up an instance in any of the public clouds and tune it to requirements, and then when you finish with that, you could spin it back down again. You know, they wanted to have flexibility on the choice of hardware they could use for their on-premises deployments. You know, so not being tied to proprietary or legacy hardware, and similarly that the software is not tied to a serial number. That the software subscription is portable. So you know, you can buy a software subscription on Qumulo and port that from an on-premises to the cloud, for example. You're not tied to that serial number. They wanted to eliminate file system tree walks, so customers could scale without limits. You know, so and address the challenges that they'd seen with previous environments. They wanted to have real-time visibility into the file system, so they could know at any point in time what was going on, who were the busiest clients, right down to a directory and right down to an individual file level. They wanted to see more innovation. They wanted the software to be you know, more agile and with innovation adopted more quickly. You know, many legacy file systems have a waterfall approach to software development. With big code releases every 12 to 18 months, but of course you're changing millions and millions of lines of code. You know, and that inherently brings risk. Qumulo is designed differently. We release updates every couple of weeks. Some customers choose to update every 2 weeks because it's so simple. It's like updating an app on your iPhone. Others maybe every quarter. But what's also interesting about our software innovation is that how it's impacted our customers over time, and actually our customers' hardware and our customers' hardware gets faster over time. The nodes we sold in 2015 that customers are still using today, a node we sold in 2015 that customers could still use today was able to deliver 800 megabytes a second. That same node in that same customer environment is now delivering 2,000 megabytes a second throughput. And that's just because of the innovation and the development of the software, the innovation we brought to the software. They wanted us to simplify the license model, so you pay for your subscription. So we give you, you get everything that's in there. It's not a modular. I'll pick this, I'll charge you for that. You buy the subscription, you get everything, and also you get everything on the roadmap. So a 36-month or a 60-month subscription to Qumulo, you get what we have today, and you get everything that's in the roadmap. And finally, customer success. This is really, really crucial to us. Really making a difference to customers in real time. Our customers have their own dedicated Slack channel. They normally get a response within 15 minutes. And the response comes from, a level 3 or greater engineer. We don't have level 1 or level 2 engineers handling our customer responses in support. The level 3 means they've had at least 10 years experience. And that's reflected on our NPS score, our customer NPS score, which is I think the last one that was done in the last quarter was around 87. It's the highest in the industry. Okay, you can see this. I'm not going to go into these sectors individually because we haven't got time on this call. But what it's safe to say is Qumulo is being used across hundreds of customers across the range of verticals you can see here. Actually today I think we've now got over 1 exabyte of data on Qumulo it's being stored by customers on Qumulo file systems. That's 1,000 petabytes and hundreds of billion files. So across the multitude of verticals you can see here, across different data workflows and different data and applications, Qumulo is truly an enterprise file data platform. So what is the Qumulo platform? Well, we said earlier that Qumulo can be deployed on a range of hardware, and of course that hardware has different characteristics. It can have performance characteristics, it can have more capacity characteristics, or it can have a combination of the two. If looking at the left, starting on the left, we have what we call true persistent performance. That's all NVMe, end-to-end NVMe. Actually, we talked about Qumulo's innovation and agile innovation. We were the first to introduce NVMe into file data platforms. So that is, if you truly want persistent performance, we have an all NVMe platform. The middle one, the cache performance, is more of a kind of hybrid node. It has SSDs and HD and hard drives. But actually, a flash first approach means these modes still drive fantastic performance. All writes go to flash before they drop down to SSD, before they go to hard drives, and 80% of reads come from flash because the intelligent machine learning algorithms that we use to prefetch data. And with the recent introduction of an NVMe hybrid node, so all writes going to flash NVMe, and 80% of reads, we're able to introduce or achieve levels of performance really unseen in what would typically be sort of as a hybrid node. So similar performance to a persistent performance NVMe node at a third of the cost. And then there's Active Archive for sort of large capacity, longer term retention, and of course public cloud. So I put one slide in here which shows one of the, there's numerous analysts out there. This is the Gartner Magic Quadrant. It's a Gartner Magic Quadrant for distributed file and object, and you can see from the slide where Gartner positions Qumulo. We have for the last 3 years been positioned in the leadership quadrant. As I said, we only released our first products in 2015. We made it firstly into the Magic Quadrant in 2017. But the fact we are now in the leadership quadrant, only with 2 or 3 other players in that space, is absolutely fantastic recognition of the innovation and really the speed of innovation that Qumulo has brought to file data management. So it's a quick summary of some of the reasons why you might consider Qumulo for your file data management and your file data platform. Qumulo brings superior scale, superior performance, and simplicity or reduced complexity to file data management at scale. We scale to millions and indeed billions of files within a single file system namespace. Now, we were born in an era of what we are using today, Flash, etc., like that. And so quite simply, the file system is architected to take advantage of many of the latest hardware innovations like Flash. So we have a Flash first approach, hence a tremendous performance. With the real-time analytics, we are able to detect issues instantly in real time to allow our customers to make decisions and address issues before they become bigger. We have true hardware flexibility, and so customers get a choice. They get a choice on what hardware they're able to deploy. And also, I didn't touch on this actually. It says they're the most efficient file system available. For those of you who are familiar with file systems, you'll know that many best practices, for customers, is not to exceed a certain level of utilization of the available storage they have. That might be maybe 80%. Qumulo doesn't have those same limitations. If we sell you 500 terabytes of usable space, you can write 500 terabytes of data to that file platform. So that is truly unique. And finally, customer support experience. We actually call it our customer success team, but actually it's second to none. It's innovative, and our continually high customer NPS scores is a reflection on the satisfaction that our customers get from not only just the general product experience, but also the customer support experience that goes with that. Some of you may be wondering what that funny thing is on the right. I certainly did when I joined Qumulo. That is our company mascot. He is a grumquat. Qumulo obviously begins with Q. So many of the puns within the company also have the letter Q associated with them. So our customer success team is called Mission Q. We've got a customer event next week, which is called Q Connect. And apparently there is one fruit that has the letter Q in it, and it's called the kumquat. So at the time of the company, someone decided that they would make a grumquat the company mascot. Why grumquat? Well, because the grumquat is never satisfied. He's also always expecting more. And he's in a spacesuit because some of you may have realized the letters SPACE down the left-hand side for the 5 reasons for why Qumulo, spell the letter space, hence the grunt quat in a spacesuit. Guys, I think that is me. Hopefully that was in time.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, John. And it's always good to see how your marketing team is supporting you with some interesting stuff there. So what I'd like to do now, before we go to the questions, just launch a quick poll, just to get some three brief questions, just to get some feedback from you on where you are on data consumption, a cloud strategy, and your on-prem versus public cloud. So just going to take a minute for you to complete this, if you don't mind. Just give us a little bit of feedback on where you are on your journey, because we've got some call to action that I'll mention in the second poll, where we've given you the opportunity to do a one-to-one deep dive with Dean and John, specifically around Qumulo, but a real-time deep dive. And also there's an event that Qumulo are putting on, that John mentioned, on the 16th of December, QConnect, hosted by their CEO. So give us some feedback on where you are on your data journey. That would be really, really useful, just to help us when we're trying to help you. So just take a minute out to do that. It's just 3 questions. How much file data do you currently have? Do you have a cloud strategy? And does your on-premise infrastructure, do you think it inhibits your adoption of the public cloud? Okay, so I think we've got most people completed that now. So thanks very much for taking the time on that poll. And this is the section where we put the subject matter experts on the spot. And we'll go to the questions now. So there is a Q&A box. You can ask the questions anonymously, and we'll give you a fair and honest answer. So I've got a question that might point at you initially, maybe that for me, and it's saying, look, this all looks really interesting, but why haven't I heard from it before? And obviously, Dean, you're quite enthusiastic about it from our point of view, but what's your thoughts on that before maybe get some feedback from John?
I mean, having seen John's presentation, perhaps it's that the grunt quat wasn't front and center of their marketing. But yes, in all seriousness, you'll see from the direction of travel on things like the Gartner quadrant, that whole ethos of getting the product right first before sort of properly launching into go-to-market. Plus, to be honest, the competition, it's absolute giants like Dell, who of course have the Isilon technology within their stable now. I think it's just one of those cases of something that one of those things that you haven't necessarily heard of, this rising star. So hopefully today has sort of done a bit of a job of helping establish that there's a pedigree there, that there's a real born in the cloud offering that's incredibly disruptive, and your duck's broken. You've heard of them now. Yeah.
Anything like to add to that, John? Well, I think I mean, Dean summed it up pretty well. I mean, look, we were relatively, we released our first products in 2015. We've been in EMEA for just around 3 years. So and you mentioned we're in a market where some of the competition are at a scale way beyond. So our marketing budgets are not as deep, but actually one of the reasons we are work with the likes of yourselves is because you can help with the making more and more customers aware of how we can positively impact what they're doing with their with file data storage, file data management. So and obviously today is a good example to try and get a whole load of new people to be aware of what Qumulo do. Okay, great, thanks. I think that sort of ties in nicely to the question from James. I think you might have sort of touched on some of this before, but why Qumulo over the sort of Dell PowerScale Isilon?
Oh,
who's going for that one?
Dina, whether you want to chip on that one first.
Well, I mean, what's really interesting, and of course, I did a bit of research prior to helping put some of this together. Dell's growth in this space has slowed relative to competition. I get that Qumulo have sort of not come out of nowhere, but they're newer to the scene. I think it's interesting that we're not seeing contraction, but we're seeing a slowing of growth in that space. But again, Qumulo aren't allowed to say this, but I can, because there's a degree of agnosticism and channel experience here. But I've seen it, that the Dell guys, on occasion, I've seen them favour their on-premise architecture versus perfectly feasible public cloud sort of hybrid implementations that might very well be right for the customer. So I'm not saying necessarily that that's always the case, but potentially there's a conflict of interest there, where you've got a software-defined vendor that's cloud native versus one that obviously has an inherent interest in you buying more of their hardware. Now, again, don't want to be too sort of controversial and pointed, but yeah, that's my experience.
Okay, John, anything you'd like to
add? Many of our customers, I said we've got many hundreds of customers now. Many of them actually were previously Isilon customers. You know, there was actually I mean, of course, like most things nowadays, they're all virtual. There was a virtual customer panel event a couple of weeks ago. There was 3 customers. They were interviewed and talked about some of the reasons they'd made the decision to move to Qumulo. You know, they highlighted some things around scale, simplicity, support massively. You know, and definitely, you know, they'd seen perhaps a change in that over the last 2 or 3 years, where support levels weren't quite what they were, and perhaps most importantly, the pace of innovation. You know, Qumulo's, you know, our only objective is to be the best, the most innovative, the most agile file development, file data platform out there. So, you know, and otherwise we fail. So the pace of innovation in Qumulo it means that they become the choice for what their data requirements are today and their data requirements moving forward, not perhaps what they would have bought 5 to 10 years ago.
And what I would add just quickly there is there are specific use cases where Qumulo absolutely sort of does away with the competition that we haven't been able to get into on this particular webinar in this session. But I'd urge you to either to get in touch with your account managers, get in touch with the likes of myself, attend Q Connect, and you can hear a little bit more around quite why Qumulo are seen as so disruptive and innovative.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, gents. If you do have any further questions, then get in touch with your account manager or drop an email to inoot@servium.com. So before we sort of summarise and go to the prize draw, I just want to launch the final poll, which really is partly to get some feedback on INOOT, because we really do value the feedback that you give us. Yes, this is the end of the current season, but we will be back in the new year. But also in there's a couple of calls to action, building on what Dean said there. Firstly, we're offering a 30-minute real-time deep dive demo with ourselves and Qumulo. So if you're interested in that, please highlight that in the poll. And also the Q Connect event on the 16th. If you'd like to attend that, highlight that in the poll, and we will get you registered for you to attend that virtual event next week. So
worth mentioning that for anyone who does register that for event, we will send them a small Christmas gift out to them.
Thanks very much, John. It certainly is the season of goodwill at the moment, isn't it? So thanks. Okay, so while you're completing the poll, I'll just sort of summarise before we go to the prize draw at the end. So that's season 4. That's our mini season. That's a wrap, as we say. So we've had 5 webinars in season 4. We've had over 100 attendees. So everyone today, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Hopefully you found them of interest. We kicked off in October. A lot of it was around remote working, security. We did a customer survey early in the year, so a lot of the content we presented this half of the year has been around the feedback we've got from you as our customers. So we've covered quite a wide range of topical, diverse subjects, and obviously concluding today with Qumulo. So thanks once again to everyone for taking the time to join us today throughout season 4. I trust you found it all useful and benefit. We will be back in 2021, so keep your eyes peeled. Like I mentioned, this webinar, along with all our other INOOT webinars, are recorded. They are published on our YouTube channel. So again, I encourage you to go to our YouTube channel. So in the meantime, for myself, all my colleagues at Servium, I'd like to wish you all a real Merry Christmas, happy and healthy New Year. So thank you, everyone.